Picture this. You earn a solid $60,000 a year, yet somehow you're living paycheck to paycheck. Meanwhile, halfway across the world, someone making far less is effortlessly building wealth. What if I told you there's a culture where people save nearly half of everything they earn, while most Americans struggle to save even 5%? Today, we're diving deep into the money habits that have quietly created some of the world's most disciplined savers. This isn't about complicated investment strategies or get-rich-quick schemes. It's about understanding a fundamentally different relationship with money that could transform how you think about your financial future. By the end of this video, you'll understand why your savings account stays empty despite your best intentions, and more importantly, what you can do about it starting today. If you're new here, I'm Tim, and I make videos to help you actually understand money so it stops controlling your life and starts working for you. If that's something you want more of, you're in the right place. Let's start with a number that will shock you. In China, the average household saves $46 out of every 100 they earn. Compare that to America, where we typically save between $3 and $5 per 100. That's not a small difference. That's a completely different financial reality. But here's what most people get wrong when they hear this statistic. They assume it's just about making more money or having fewer expenses. The real secret runs much deeper than that. To understand why, you have to look beyond the numbers and into mindset. For a lot of Chinese families, especially the older generations, saving money wasn't about becoming rich. It was about never being hungry again. Parents and grandparents who grew up with very little carried a simple rule into their entire lives. You don't waste, you don't show off, and you always put something aside. Money wasn't a trophy, it was security. Most of us have been conditioned to believe that saving money requires sacrifice. We think about all the things we can't buy, all the experiences we're missing out on. This mindset keeps us trapped in a cycle where saving feels like punishment. We set ambitious savings goals, stick to them for a few weeks, then inevitably break when life gets expensive or we see something we want. The dominant narrative in our culture tells us that spending equals happiness. We're bombarded with messages about sales, financing options, and keeping up with what everyone else has. Credit cards make it easy to buy now and worry later. Social media constantly shows us what we're supposedly missing out on. Against this backdrop, saving money feels like swimming against a powerful current. But what if the entire framework is wrong? What if saving isn't about deprivation at all, but about something much more fundamental? The cultures that excel at saving don't see money as something to spend. They see it as something that represents security, options, and freedom. This shift in perspective changes everything. Let me tell you about zero-based budgeting, though that's not what people called it traditionally. The core principle is breathtakingly simple. Every dollar that comes into your life gets assigned a specific job before you even receive it. Not some of your money, not most of your money, every single dollar. Here's how it works in practice. Let's say you bring home $4,000 per month. Before that money hits your bank account, you've already decided exactly where it's going. Rent gets $800, groceries get $400, transportation gets $300. But here's the key part that most budgeting advice misses. Savings categories get treated exactly like expenses. Your emergency fund gets $300. Your retirement account gets $500. Your future car replacement fund gets $200. These aren't wishful thinking categories that you'll fund if there's money left over. They're non-negotiable commitments, just like your rent payment. By the time you account for every category, including all your savings goals, you have exactly $0 unassigned. This is exactly how a lot of Chinese parents budget, just without the fancy name. Growing up, many kids watched their parents sit at the kitchen table, splitting paychecks into envelopes, bank accounts, or mental buckets. Bills, food, kids' education, future house, emergencies. There was never extra money lying around. Every dollar already had a purpose before it even arrived. This isn't about restricting yourself, it's about taking control. Every financial decision becomes intentional instead of impulsive. You know exactly what you can afford because you've already made the hard choices when your brain wasn't clouded by desire for specific purchases. The psychology behind this approach is powerful. When money sits in your checking account with no specific purpose, your brain treats it as available for spending. But when that same money has been mentally earmarked for your emergency fund, it feels off limits. You're not fighting willpower anymore. You're working with clear boundaries that you set when you were thinking rationally. Most people resist this level of detailed planning because it seems restrictive. But consider the alternative. Without a plan, you're constantly making financial decisions in the moment when you're tired, stressed, or tempted by something attractive. Those spontaneous decisions rarely align with your long-term goals. The result? You earn decent money but somehow never build wealth. The transformation happens when you realize that having every dollar accounted for actually creates more freedom, not less. You stop worrying about whether you can afford something because you already know. You stop feeling guilty about purchases that fit within your predetermined categories. Most importantly, you stop living in financial uncertainty. But the money management system is only part of the story. The deeper principle involves completely reframing what money represents in your life. In cultures with high savings rates, money isn't primarily seen as a tool for consumption. It's viewed as stored security, future options, and independence from external circumstances. Consider this perspective. Every dollar you save is like hiring an employee who works for you forever. That employee might not make much per hour, but they never take sick days, never ask for raises, and never quit. Over time, these financial employees can earn enough to eventually replace your regular job income. But this only works if you actually hire them by consistently saving and investing. The scarcity mindset that many people develop around money often backfires. When you feel like money is always tight, you tend to make decisions based on fear rather than strategy. You might skip investing because you're worried about needing that money for emergencies. You might avoid spending money on things that would actually improve your earning potential. This defensive approach keeps you stuck in survival mode instead of growth mode. The abundance mindset doesn't mean spending carelessly. It means recognizing that money is a tool that can be multiplied through intelligent use. When you save consistently and invest wisely, you're not just setting aside money for later. You're building a system that generates more money without requiring more of your time. Think about the compound effect over decades. Someone who saves $500 per month starting at age 25 will have contributed $180,000 by age 55. But if that money grows at 7% annually, they'll actually have over $600,000. The extra $420,000 came from patience and consistency, not from earning more money or living like a monk. This is where most financial advice fails. It focuses on tactics like clipping coupons or finding the best interest rates while ignoring the fundamental behavioral changes that create lasting wealth. The real secret isn't about finding ways to squeeze more money out of your budget. It's about creating systems that make good financial decisions automatic. Let me share 4 core principles that consistently separate successful savers from everyone else. First, they avoid lifestyle inflation. When their income increases, they save the extra money instead of immediately upgrading their lifestyle. This doesn't mean living like a college student forever, but it does mean being intentional about which upgrades actually improve your life versus which ones just impress other people. Think about someone who gets a $10,000 raise and chooses to keep driving their old reliable car one more year. That single decision can be the difference between I feel richer and actually becoming richer. Second, they distinguish between needs and wants with brutal honesty. Everyone needs transportation, but not everyone needs a brand new car with leather seats and premium sound system. Everyone needs clothes, but designer labels are rarely necessary for function. This isn't about being cheap, it's about being strategic with where you allocate your money. The key is asking whether each purchase moves you closer to or further from your financial goals. A more expensive item that lasts significantly longer might actually be the better financial choice, but an expensive item that you're buying primarily for status or emotional reasons probably isn't. A Chinese parent might not say needs versus wants out loud, but you feel it when they say, "We don't need that. We're saving for something bigger." Third, they maximize value on purchases they do make. If you're going to buy something you want rather than just need, make sure you'll get substantial use from it. That expensive kitchen gadget seems reasonable if you'll use it 3 times per week for the next 5 years. But if it'll sit in your cabinet after the novelty wears off, it's a poor use of money regardless of the price. In many Asian and immigrant households, you'll see this in practice. One good rice cooker used every single day, not 10 random appliances collecting dust. Fourth, they control their most expensive regular expenses. For most people, housing and transportation consume 50 to 60% of their income. Small optimizations in these categories have massive impact. Living in a slightly smaller space or choosing a reliable used car instead of a new one can free up hundreds or thousands of dollars per month for savings. This is why you see families living together longer, sharing housing costs, and driving practical cars instead of chasing status. The practical implementation requires tracking your spending for at least 3 months to understand your actual patterns. Most people dramatically underestimate how much they spend on categories like restaurants, subscriptions, and impulse purchases. Once you have accurate data, you can make informed decisions about where to cut back and where to maintain spending. Start by listing your fixed expenses like rent, insurance, and loan payments. Then identify your variable expenses like groceries, entertainment, and shopping. Finally, determine how much you want to save each month and treat that as another fixed expense. The money left over is what you have available for discretionary spending. The beautiful thing about this system is that it scales with your income. If you get a raise, you simply allocate the extra money across your categories according to your priorities. Maybe 50% goes to additional savings, 30% increases your discretionary spending, and 20% goes toward upgrading necessary items that improve your quality of life. But remember, the goal isn't to save every possible dollar, it's to save consistently while still enjoying your life. The people who try to cut expenses to the bone usually burn out and swing back to overspending. Sustainable savings requires finding a balance that you can maintain for years or decades. The psychological benefits of having control over your money extend far beyond the bank account numbers. Financial stress affects sleep, relationships, health, and career performance. When you know you're building wealth systematically, you can focus your mental energy on other areas of life instead of constantly worrying about money. You also gain genuine freedom to make choices based on what you actually want rather than what you can afford. Want to take a year off to travel? Possible when you have savings? Want to start your own business? Much less risky with a financial cushion. Want to help family members in need? Easy when you're not living paycheck to paycheck yourself. The most successful savers automate as much as possible. Set up automatic transfers to savings accounts immediately after payday. Use automatic bill pay for fixed expenses. This removes the temptation to spend money that should go elsewhere and eliminates the mental effort of making the same financial decisions repeatedly. Over time, you'll notice that living below your means stops feeling like sacrifice and starts feeling like intelligence. You'll see purchases that used to seem essential as obviously wasteful. You'll feel genuine satisfaction from watching your net worth grow each month. Most importantly, you'll stop feeling like money controls your life and start feeling like you control your money. The compound effects extend beyond just investment returns. Good financial habits tend to reinforce other positive life changes. People who take control of their money often improve their health, relationships, and career prospects as well. There's something powerful about proving to yourself that you can stick to long-term commitments and delay gratification for meaningful rewards. Here's your action plan. First, track every expense for the next month without trying to change anything. Just gather data. Second, calculate your current savings rate by dividing monthly savings by monthly income. Third, create a zero-based budget that includes specific savings goals. Fourth, set up automatic systems to make your plan happen without willpower. Fifth, review and adjust your system monthly, but don't make major changes too frequently. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Even saving 10% of your income puts you ahead of most people and creates real wealth over time. As you get comfortable with the system and see results, you can gradually increase your savings rate. The Chinese approach to money isn't about deprivation or extreme frugality. It's about treating money with respect, making intentional choices, and building systems that create lasting financial security. And it's not just China. Plenty of families in places like Germany, India, Thailand, and other parts of the world follow similar principles. The difference is that for many of them, it's baked into the culture from day one. You don't need to change your entire lifestyle overnight. You just need to start treating every dollar like it matters, because it does. Your future self will thank you for the financial discipline you develop today. Start with small changes, stay consistent, and watch how taking control of your money transforms not just your bank account, but your entire relationship with financial stress and freedom.